Welcome everybody back to another BOLDcast reaction. I'm Carson.
I'm Lindsay.
And this is One Piece reaction, episodes 78 and 79. What happened last time?
Last time, Zoro killed the Unluckies brutally.
Sanji
What?
did.
Yeah, didn't I say Sanji?
You said Zoro.
Sanji killed the Unluckies in a display of brutality, the likes of which I have never seen in this show. Then we're taken off from Little Garden.
With the help of the Elbaf warriors.
Yes, they slaughtered that giant goldfish that was suspiciously similar to the one that Usopp talked about in his story to Kaya at the start of his introduction.
Indeed. We are on our way to Alabasta. We got an internal log pose.
Yes.
Pointed directly there. We don't have to deal with all that other nonsense. But there's going to be some interception possibly.
Yes.
So we'll see what's going on there. And we also saw a little bit of Crocodile's power, something to do with that.
Yeah,
Something
can't quite figure out what it is, but it's looking scary.
Yeah. Leave a like and subscribe. Check out Patreon to get 2 weeks ahead on uncut reactions, 1 week ahead on edited One Piece reactions. And if you really want to help us out, once again, you leave a like and subscribe, you leave a comment. You could also check out another video on our channel. If you want to, right after watching this one, just hit play on another one instantly. That lets YouTube know that they should recommend our channel more, and that's really helpful. So consider doing something like that. But otherwise, we hope you just enjoy the reaction. Let's go. This would be a good karaoke song.
Do it.
Wouldn't it be a good karaoke song?
I guess.
Straight ahead. Usopp's calling it out.
Because he really believes in him. Can't see why they didn't, like, you know, destroy it before they were already eaten, but, you know, it added to the effect.
Oh, they're just gonna ride this wake, like, so far.
Turns out it was actually the opposite direction that they were supposed to be going.
Their weapons are all broken.
It's the last strike.
Well, now that's a good reason to go back to their hometown.
Get new weapons.
Yep. Come back and fight again. What? Oh, the red ogre and the blue ogre. Classic.
You didn't notice that the whole...
No, I didn't. Did you?
Yeah, they kept saying it, like, constantly.
Really? The red ogre and the blue ogre? I must not have been paying attention, like always. A little girl? Oh, okay.
I was a little bit concerned for a second.
Just like, and there was a little girl. Did you see what our bosses caught today? It's nice to sit on somebody's house. These guys must just have severe brain damage to not remember all this stuff.
It was literally the same thing as Zoro and Sanji.
Little girl, you have no idea. Oh! That's the skulls. These things ate people. That's crazy! Until their buddies just left. Because they were fighting for so long. And they've just been living in the skulls of these things. That's so cool.
I was wondering what those things were, because they kind of look like there's a few things that look like bones, but they're the skulls, and that makes a lot of sense.
Let's just finish this now. The middle mountain. Is there one last monster, like, in the mountain or something?
No, they're just fighting again.
No, they were like, there's one thing that I can't remember, and they're like, yeah, middle mountain as it started to erupt. Oh, I guess, yeah, because it was the...
They were just talking, and then there was their signal to fight again.
Oh. Well, it sounded like there was going to be one more thing to remember. Somebody doing the typesetting screwed up here.
That mosquito bite.
Yeah, it was the bite, you're right. What if it was the devil fruit power of somebody else?
Had a mosquito ability.
Or some kind of, like, poison little dart. Something. Because she said there was a bug, but we didn't see anything. You
Get
fuckers,
away.
stay away.
I love how he always like tells them to go get it and then like serves it to Nami.
To the girls, yeah.
It's looking pretty rough.
Literally guts.
Yeah.
Literally guts. Still got that scar from Mihawk.
Mm-hmm. Where did they even get that? Did he bring that on board preemptively?
Probably. Sandy Island.
Oh, I like that.
Mr. 2. Or like, look at his hairy legs.
Okay, they think they're going to kill Mr. 3.
Zero-chan.
Be careful, you have something that we really need on your wrist, but we've fallen down. Make some chicken soup. Right now. These are really rough. Someone needs to remember that bite and check on it and see if it's all, like, swollen up and... No, that was a complete oversight. We talked about it. No. They're just like, oh my god. That's
40?
hot.
Holy shit.
What's that pose?
Keep freaking out.
No, shut up. Remember she was like being all suspicious about it? It's like mysterious. Oh. Wow.
Well.
Don't be like that. We don't have a choice either way.
Fucking idiot.
Thinks that everyone else is just as open and honest as he is. Oh, she's fine. She's acting fine, so
She wouldn't say she's fine if she wasn't fine.
My god. No! Is there an island?
Oh, great.
How can you go to a doctor? Maybe if any of you guys learned how to just like look at a thing and go in the same direction as it, then we wouldn't be in such a horrible problem right now. That's what we're doing.
Yeah. All right. Noted. Yeah, I didn't know they had the choice to go to another island.
As far as I know, they don't, unless they like see
Unless
one
they
with their
stumble
eyes.
upon one, yeah.
Oh! Zoro almost just sent them straight into that. I've been watching that cloud and going straight towards it. Damn. So with those birds that are delivering them the paper couldn't like deliver them a log, like an eternal one that goes to a doctor.
Yeah.
I bet it'd be good for business if you were a doctor. Send those out.
Mm-hmm. Big guy in a lab coat, ho!
Jesus.
That's fucking terrifying.
Maybe he's a doctor.
Looks like a doctor. He doesn't use a stethoscope, he uses a bow and arrow.
Just new technology. Or really outdated technology, not sure.
What you think of that episode? Nami sick, everybody
Yeah.
freaking out.
That's crazy how good she is. I don't know how they expect to find a doctor other than just stumble upon one as they're headed in their
Yeah.
direction.
I don't know what that means. Oh, I like this detail where the stick broke off, but it's all repaired. And they animated the little rope there. That's good. Anyway, yeah. I don't know. I don't know what, because the whole dilemma of the episode is like, do we go straight to Alabasta because they're having this crazy thing, or do we go find a doctor? But it's like, the whole point of the Grand Line and navigation in the Grand Line is that you can't choose where you're going. It's island to island,
technically,
unless you find an eternal pose. But they have an eternal pose to Alabasta, and they didn't tune their actual log pose to the island that they were on, in finding the other island. So they don't have a choice. They don't have the log pose going towards the other island.
No, the only choice that they could have would be just to take off in a random direction and hope that you find something
before you hit the comm belt.
Yeah, or nothing. Like
nothing.
So I'm not. I guess I'm not really sure about that. I'm not sure.
Like they're
what the deal
unless they
is.
have another way to determine their direction, the only choice they really have is to go towards Alabasta. You know, because they have no other way of knowing where another island is at this moment.
Yeah.
So the dilemma doesn't really work. If they had the thing where it actually did tune to the island that they were at before.
Yeah.
Then they got the eternal one. They'd be like, oh well, we do have a choice, and it's actually
it's like we can either go to this next island where there might be a doctor, or we can go the fastest route. And then they're going the fastest route, and then if Vivi was like, actually no, we need to go to the other island and hope that there's a doctor there. I feel like that would have made a bit more sense. I don't know. like, I don't think this is a case of being too nitpicky. I just don't understand where they expect to find a doctor.
And also the whole thing of Nami being an expert, when you have a literal waypoint marker, like in a video game of like, this is the direction you need to go, it kind of removes the like intricacies of being a navigator, doesn't it?
Well, they just said that she detected that storm coming.
I know, so I guess they're giving another way for her to, but like, her being, because, okay, so here's what I'm getting at, is like, Nami being sick, it theoretically would make it so, if your navigator's sick, it would take you longer to get to where you're going. Yeah. So the idea is, Vivi's choosing her friendship with Nami on one hand, but it's also like, healing Nami will make us go faster to the direction that we're going, because she's a good navigator and she can sense all this shit. But they're only following this arrow pointing to where they're going, so there's not really a complex like, oh, reading the, you know, I mean, other than her sensing a storm nearby. That's, you know, so, but otherwise, even if they didn't have her, like, you know, she said that there was a storm coming up, they ran into the storm, and now they're gonna be, they, you know, had to face the storm, but like, the, you know, it's like, it's not like Nami can do anything special other than that will like help them get there faster, because they're just following a straight line.
Yeah, it's not like they have a map and they're like, okay, we have to like go west until we like hit this point, and then
here's
like
these currents,
go this
and here's
way.
You know, these islands.
The whole point is that it's unpredictable, but then I guess that's why they're giving her like this like superhuman ability to sense slight changes in the weather and like the ocean and stuff.
Yeah.
Because all you'd have to do is just like staple that thing right in front of the wheel, and then
anyone could do it, yeah.
Keep it in a straight line. But obviously they're all incompetent. Like Zoro could have done that, but he literally didn't. Yeah, but he could have went and asked for it. But he thought that looking at a cloud...
I don't think that she wanted to give it to him, because they keep breaking it, and Nami or Vivi need to be holding it, because they're gonna take better care of it, was the thing. So she was just like, just go straight, and he couldn't follow that instruction. But I think even Zoro, if he had the log pose, could be like, oh, we're not going the direction that we're supposed to be going, I'll just turn the thing. Maybe he'd get distracted, and that'd be dumb, but it's not because he doesn't understand follow the line to where you're going. Like, anybody can do that. So that's the problem. So not only do we not actually have a choice, to where we're going, because we only have the one eternal log pose, but also Nami being there to do it and being this special secret incredible navigator doesn't actually do anything with the way that it's been set up, because with the whole thing of removing, first of all, they can't go by the sun. They can't go by the stars. They have to go by this arrow. So, they could theoretically do those things, but they aren't. They're going by this arrow, because the story's setting it up to where you need to have this log post. So that's the rule. That's the rule that the story's setting. I'm cool with it. But it removes Nami's purpose, except for this new wind sensing ability that she has. Yeah. But then that's also, I feel like it's not as... It just doesn't work as well for me personally, because Nami's whole thing of drawing charts and like mapping everything out and having a sense for all that stuff, and her doing something with her mind and like actually figuring shit out, that's something that other people couldn't do. And I guess her just miraculously sensing the weather is also that way. I mean, but also
she kind of was really good at it before too, because she was able to map out water currents so accurately to the point that they could then pinpoint a location where if they moved a rock in that area, it would cause a whirlpool or whatever. So she was a little bit more, they already kind of hinted that she was like more
special.
Attuned.
Yeah, maybe it's just maybe it was already foreshadowed, and I'm just being nitpicky.
I do think that they are like adding that element in now, like more
as a solution to this problem.
Because it's like, okay, we don't have a map. We need to just follow a thing. And like you could argue it's the same in real life of like, oh, we'll use a compass, but there's a lot more.
There's a lot more that goes in navigation,
and
it's
a compass, but also having a map and like determining things based on that of like.
It's like if you're lost in the woods,
we need to go like this way, because like you could go straight north, but then there might be a mountain straight north that you need to cross, or you could like go around like this, and like that's the kind of the job of a navigator is to keep track of the best path.
It's to keep track of the deviation against where you're starting, so that, because just knowing the direct, it's like, oh, from me north of me, roughly speaking, is where I need to go. Well, if you divert any at all, then you're going north, you're going to go past it. So like the navigator's job is to keep track of that, but when you're just following this one arrow, it kind of takes away all of the nuance of that job, and it makes her not useless, because again, they're trying to fill that void by giving her this ability, or by fleshing out this ability that she may have already had, this like sixth sense and this special sort of attunement to the ocean, which, you know, is fine, but you know, it's clearly in response to her whole sort of purpose being diminished with the way
just
that
by
this
the
all
nature
being
of the
set up.
Grand Line.
Yeah.
I would like to see it if she is somehow, because she is like so good, able to make some sort of map of like where they've been, or I think about like in Narnia and Voyage of the Dawn Treader, when they make a map of like up till the world's end, or they like try to make one, and then they get one like magically made for them by describing all of the places that they've been to like a magic guy.
Yeah. Well,
Next one.
Leave a like and subscribe.
What if the whole ocean just froze and they couldn't move anywhere?
That'd be great. This guy is really weird looking. Are you a doctor?
Oh, he's like the lookout on this giant boat. Maybe they have a doctor.
Is he picking up the whole bed to keep her steady? He picked up the whole bed and was holding it up with his foot to keep, like, as a sort of gimbal.
Oh, I thought he was like blocking out like putting stuff on the window to. Whoa.
Hippo shippo.
Well, they don't have anything good, so just move on.
Is he acting all cool all of a sudden? Oh,
Wow.
I see. Are these guys Marines, maybe?
They don't
No,
look
they
like
had
it.
they had pirate shit. Yeah, they're just all wearing the same outfit.
Like a military style.
Yeah,
pirate.
yeah. But no, they.
Ow. Oh, we actually have 6 people plus a bird right now. I hate the sound of that. Why do you want this ship? Like, your ship is...
He wants to eat the ship.
Sanji, cook him up something that will actually satisfy him.
I bet that's good. Oh, man.
They shot first. Stay under there. They don't need to know you're here, too.
What kind of guns do they have? Look like they have like bolt action rifles or like M1 Garands or something.
What is your problem? You don't have major...
Munch fruit.
Oh. Doesn't make it so that he can eat anything?
I guess so. No.
Luffy's lucky that he didn't just, like, keep biting down on him. Oh, he's gone. Now you guys can help us.
They just... Was that their captain?
I think so. True. Bye.
I think we just made some new enemies that will recur over time. Because they gotta go somehow catch their fucking captain. I think we will, or if we don't, you'll show up and remind us of you. Wish he didn't eat part of our goddamn boat. That was kind of uncool. You want to go to the Drum Kingdom.
Oh.
They were calling him Sama, so maybe he's like, maybe they're not, and there was a crown on the hippo's head.
Yeah.
So he might be the king of another country, another neighboring kingdom, that then they'll show up to help them.
Because apparently there's kings and stuff now. There's kingdoms.
Several days earlier.
Oh.
What is this? Is that Shank's boat? Whose boat is that?
Marines.
Marine boat. Smoker.
What's the signal? We need a doctor! She got a sword upgrade.
Once again, fell down some stairs.
Yep.
Just like some other blue-haired sword freak we know. They intercepted the signal of Sanji's phone call.
No. It's cool. They have like a little like radio signal snail that like specifically can just pick stuff up. Who's that guy?
Yeah.
Maybe like you shouldn't use code names. Maybe you should just use your real names and you wouldn't be able to be traced back to each other.
I guess that's why it's called Alabasta. There's a white sand beaches, alabaster.
Look at that sunset.
Beautiful.
They're not funny. Really?
But couldn't they, since they have a direct waypoint exactly pointing to where they go? Doesn't that remove all of the reason to drop anchor at night?
They're all so worried about her. They're sleeping in there.
Wow.
The least restful sleep possible.
What a weirdo. What a maroon.
Kind of calm.
Do we get turned around somehow?
Oh. How about Usopp looks carefully on the horizon? A lot of rules for the Grand Line.
Yeah, but the rules always boil down to like, here are these
can be
categories. And then there's also categories that we cannot possibly know. So there's actually an infinite number of categories.
Lucky. Turns out it's a completely uninhabited island. It's just penguins or something. It could be anything.
The monsters in the Grand Line break down roughly into 5 different categories. There's big monsters, small monsters, medium monsters, and then medium-large monsters. And there's a category for monsters that we cannot categorize with the other 4 categories.
Doesn't seem to be anyone around.
Christmas episode. What if we get a Christmas One Piece episode?
I hope so. It's gonna be just a little town called Somber Town, where everyone is not allowed toys.
I would love like a reference to something like that, like in One Piece.
Like a hot spring or something around.
They just stumble into Game of Thrones. They run up to a White Walker. Oh shit!
Well,
I feel like every interaction with normal people is like, pirates, wait! And then they're like, no, we're not pirates. Then why do you have a Jolly Roger? I mean, because we're pirates. Shoot them!
I mean, to be fair, most of the time that people come here, it's to, like, raid them.
I know, but, like, they're cosplaying as people that they do not act like at all.
Yeah. Hey!
To be continued.
You just shot the freaking princess of Alabasta, you moron.
I wonder where is this gonna be the Drum Kingdom? Because they looked like they were from Winter. They had similar clothing.
Those
people? Pirates.
Yeah,
those
but I mean,
pirates.
everyone was wearing their winter clothes because they were in like a storm.
Right, but they like their clothes specifically looked like it was like their style, you know.
Yeah.
So we've already talked about it a lot, and I don't want to harp on it too much, but I feel like there's 3 possibilities here. Either there's something currently about the navigation thing that we don't understand, that we missed because we were talking or just being dumb or whatever. 2, Oda did not properly account for log poses and how that would interfere with Nami's role as a navigator. 3, and probably somewhat likely, there is something other than the telling the weather thing, which wouldn't affect how they know where they're going, because that's what, again, they talked about it this episode, like, without Nami, we won't know what to do or where to go. It's like there's an arrow pointing exactly where you need to go. You can just point the ship in that direction, then you can go there. Or 3, there's going to be another, like, twist to it that Oda will write in as a justification to sort of fix the sort of narrative issue of Nami and the log pose dilemma that we were talking about.
Yeah.
So, I'm holding up the possibility that there's something we didn't pick up on, or it's just, you know, maybe it's just an oversight, and it doesn't end up being that big of a deal. But I think the issue comes from, I think it's a structural problem more than anything, because it seems like if you think about the reason why Oda would do the log pose system for the Grand Line, it's so there's like this Mario Brothers level sort of like linear structure to them going from island to island.
Yeah.
And then if he wants, he can like throw them off course and then they go to a random island as like a, whoa, what's going on here? But like the idea of doing that is like, it adds to the randomness and the mystery. I think that's what he was more focused on, is like, how am I going to structure them stumbling upon these islands, learning about these things, and then moving on to the next one and knowing where they're going. But like, I don't think he fully thought. I don't know if he didn't fully think through. Again, it's not that he wouldn't be smart enough, or I think I'm smarter than Oda or something. It's the weekly manga structure. I don't think can be understated how much that influences how an author like is sort of rushed to figure shit out like this. There's already been things where like, oh, Oda wanted to include this here, but you know, he wanted to do this for 100 chapters, so he didn't think of it, or he wasn't able to fit it in, or you know, he didn't know what he was doing at this part of the story, and you know, that's why everything was kind of jumbled and kind of fucked up. So then he kind of fixed it or figured it out towards the end of this little arc or whatever. There's constantly things like that, and I'm not, by pointing them out and talking about them, we're not trying to diminish the series. We're just trying to examine it, and I just want to make that clear. But what were you gonna say that I cut you off?
About like the structure thing. I think it is, like you said, a little bit of a thing of, yeah. Oh, this is. I think part of it was like, oh, we need to make this different. So a compass and a map. Those things. Your compass won't work. Your map, useless.
And to make it just dynamic of the weathers and everything. You know.
Yeah, and then it's like, and anything can happen, but I'm gonna install this like very specific thing of like, you have to follow this route within like this very unstructured thing. There is the method of knowing where you're going is very strict. You have to go from island to island, stay on that island until you can move on to the next one. Mm-hmm. And in theory, like I imagine when you come up with it, it's like, this sounds great. And then it's immediately like,
a bunch of problems you didn't think of. I am
completely locked in to, oh, okay, so if this island has a year, then they need to get off of it. They're not spending a year here. And then if it's going to be only for like a day or like an hour each time, then what was the point?
Yeah.
It's basically like you're finding at every island you get a clue on how to get to the next island, basically.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is I think that it's like in some ways that it's interesting with like, you know, you have this thing and the magnetic pull from one island to the other, and it's kind of cool. But then you have these eternal ones that just no matter where you are always point to this one. So then it's like, okay, I want to know. It just makes me, I know maybe I'm just being a little bit silly, but it makes me wonder, why aren't there more of these? If people can just call them up, Smoker just calls it up and is like, hey, get me an eternal to Alabasta.
Here's one example. Is like, if you wanted an eternal one to say where the Elbaf boys were, that island, I forget what it was called, you would need to have somebody with a bunch of log poses unattuned, and whatever material is different about an eternal one versus a normal one. Say there is like a different metal or something that attunes to it better. They would need to survive there. They would need to get there, not die from sea kings and pirates, live there for a year, not get killed by dinosaurs, and then come back. You know.
Well, they wouldn't even have to stay there. People are flying around the Grand Line constantly. You could drop it off, go back the other way, and
be
then
sure that pirates wouldn't find them, or that somebody else wouldn't find them. There's plenty, and also another thing along with that, and I like the detail. I think we got a little bit of an answer to this question this episode with Smoker asking for the eternal log pose of Alabasta. These are controlled things, and now that because there's a world government of like Marines, and because how we talked about like how they're like another big group of pirates, essentially, like when you break it all down, the difference between a huge nationwide spanning pirate group who taxes the people and protects them in a way because it's their territory is no different from a government, and that's something that the show has done, has established so far and kind of made those connections. That's kind of what the Navy is doing at the moment, where they are controlling. So it's a matter of control. It's a matter of you can kind of I don't even know if it's a rationalization. I think it's genuinely something that Oda might be thinking of here, where it's like, yeah, eternal log poses, they exist, and maybe they are plentiful, but they're probably all just controlled by the biggest dogs out there, which are the warlords like Crocodile and Mihawk. Maybe not Mihawk, is more of a Sigma male. But the more likely the Marines, who are this huge organization which has the resources to farm these things essentially and distribute them out and hoard them for themselves. So maybe that I think that's honestly like a good reason. I really do think I could see Oda. It just seems like this whole system seems like there's a lot of benefits, and it seems like Oda was like thinking about maybe there's also we talk about like the manga industry and that pressure on authors. I feel like that might have been an editor thing. Maybe they wanted like, oh, we want we want you to start this like new. No, we want you to start this like, well, kind of, but like we want you to start this new part of your story. Maybe here's a contract for this amount of thing. You won't get canceled. So then Oda's just like, okay, how do I make sure that the story will like persist and stay interesting over this time? Well, you create like a finish line sort of thing, or at least like a bunch of goalposts and checkpoints along the way. Mm-hmm. And then that the audience, like the whole point of it is, maybe there's an internal thing with the manga industry and with editors like wanting some sort of promise on all the rest of this arc. But it's also Oda saying like, here, look at all these places we'll be able to explore. And it's not even all the things up to like, say we go far, we're only getting like 40% maybe, or 20% maybe less of the islands along the way that we went, because we're passing so many different ones. Sorry, I need to get rid of that. Oh shit, I fucked it up. Hang on. Mute for today. Okay. Yeah, so I think that it's like, it's one of those things that it's like, when you think about it, it's not a big deal. It's just like
I guess my thing.
It feels like it's just those things that like clash with it, and it's like it's an adventure. We're supposed to be out here on an adventure, and then we go from big, mysterious, unmapped world to here is it's literally the same problem that like video games, open world video games have today, where it's just like, oh well, instead of exploring and like learning about the world and like understanding the flow of the map or whatever in this open world game, here's a waypoint telling you exactly where you need to go. And your chart along this like main quest line in a video game is no longer determined by your choice or how you choose to approach a situation. It's like this is pointing you directly in this direction.
Well, that's what I was saying, because we talked a lot about like, okay, then it kind of, and I feel like people are gonna get mad at us for saying
they probably got mad like 5 episodes
they did
ago.
But I mean, like, for saying that it kind of like takes a little bit away from Nami. Because they keep saying she's, like, the best navigator ever, but by giving this thing that, like, even a baby could follow almost, other than, like, you might get swept up into a storm, or, like, you know what I mean? But the thing about the Grand Line, and what I feel like maybe the log poses take away a little bit, and then also, so it's like, okay, everyone goes, and then it's like, okay, well, we need to be able to go to different places, so we're gonna have the eternal pose. And then my thought with that is at that point, they're essentially just maps. They're not really compasses, they're just maps. It's like, some people have a better map than other people.
Yeah.
Some people, they go to an island, and then the people there are like, oh yeah, straight that way is another island. So then you just go straight that way into another island. Or it's like, give me the map to this thing, instead of like, give me the eternal pose to this thing. It's like, just give me the map of this area. You know what I'm saying? Or give me the coordinates of this.
Yeah.
It becomes a little bit more, it makes the Grand Line just seem a little bit more like
less
usable
random,
and like navigational, instead of like, this is the Wild West. You can,
and the fact they know about Alabasta, it's you expect them to know like
some things,
like because there's all the different seas, and you imagine like, oh well, if the East Blue is like this, the other ones are probably mostly like that, but a little bit different in some ways. But like the Grand Line, I think, was supposed to be this like really chaotic Wild West, like you were saying. But the fact that Alabasta Kingdom, and then the fact that Smoker is sitting there like, oh, Alabasta Kingdom, they're in a coup, right? It's like, oh, so you know that, like, and the fact that they get newspapers.
Yeah, it's like, it's much more connected. It makes
it's way more connected than what was promised.
And maybe as you go farther into the Grand Line, like, this is like the kids area Grand Line where everyone can kind of just go around, but it's just very interesting that you have an island that has been untouched for 100 years, that these guys were at, that everyone who went there died. But then the rest of it is like, people are just flying around here to there, going all over the place, knowing everyone at every island and exactly what's going on at them.
It feels like, it's, yeah, I know what you mean. It's like they the whole promise of going into the Grand Line was like, this is going to be an adventure. We are going into uncharted territory.
Yeah.
It's like we were going to discuss, people have been there and been back and forth, but it was like the Vikings going to America for the first or second or 10th time. It's like they know this coast area, but it seems like everything is pretty well understood by like larger, higher scale people. Like it seems like once we meet more people on Garp's level or above, they know all this shit easily.
Yeah,
it seems like they kind of go back and forth.
Like
so we're not like exploring this untapped reservoir of like new potential and seeing these new things, and I'm sure that will probably come eventually.
Yeah.
But like, it seems like we're just going into territory that we don't know, and that's not as exciting as us braving this new frontier. You know, that's the difference. And that's what it felt like. It felt like we were adventurers, and now it feels like we're just kind of like following in the footsteps of a million different
people. But at the same time, we kind of are, because pirates were like late to the game here. Like pirates have been going in here since Gold Roger, like 20 years. Pirates have been going through here. So in a way, it does kind of make sense, I guess. And it's not, I'm not saying that I hate the show or I hate the direction that it went. It's just a little,
it's different than what was built up.
Yes.
Yeah, it's different.
And I still think that it's going to get to like that level eventually, like, you know, as you go farther. But I guess the difference is like, we just rolled into the Grand Line, and so far nothing has really been on that other level.
I will say this last episode felt a lot, and like the couple episodes since we left Elbaf, was it just 2 episodes actually? Or there was one before, like maybe before we got, not Elbaf, the fucking dinosaur place. I keep forgetting the name of the island. There's been this episode, I think the one previous, and like another one. They felt like we're out on the ocean and like kind of taking things as they come, and it feels a lot more spontaneous, and a lot less like we're locked into another arc.
I guess that's why I kind of like, it's like, so we were rolling out. We're like, okay, we need a doctor. We're just gonna like go and then hopefully find one. Oh, we've like noticed that we're in like this certain weather, so that must mean the island's nearby. And I like that. And I guess that's what I thought that it was gonna be more like, of like, we're in the complete unknown. We are just sailing in a direction and seeing where the wind takes us, kind of. And then you like look for signs, and then you see something, and then you go there and you investigate.
It seemed, with the Nami being sick thing and that whole dilemma again with like her how will we know where, like, it seemed like part of me, it makes me wonder if we ever get to this part in the live action. Like, I wonder what decisions will be made about that. But aside from that, what I see happening here is like, Nami's sick. Oh, what are we gonna do? Are we gonna save Nami, or are we gonna go towards Alabasta? That's a kind of a moot point, because we can only go towards Alabasta based on the system that was developed, again, barring any confusion that we have on the way that the log poses work. What a more, and this is what I think the live action might do if they ever get here, is they might be like, the dilemma is not, because the whole point of that dilemma is to create tension about what they're going to do next, about how they're going to handle, and to create tension, like, oh my god, Nami's sick, there's all this stuff going down, are we going to be too late by the time we get there? It's that there's a problem there. But I feel like the live action might either add another log pose, or they might get attuned, or and I'm saying, by the way, I know people hate the live action, especially people who are this deep into the reaction series don't like the live action as much. I'm talking about like with the hindsight, like from that perspective of like, with the hindsight of like, we have the opportunity to, you know, there's this little problem, like how could you clean this up? What's the, because we're not looking at this like, but the world has all these magnetic problems, and that's just how it is. We're looking at this like, what's the function of making the log poses? When Oda's doing that, how is he trying to enhance his story and make it better for us? And what ways is that a drawback? What ways does that positively affect the experience of the story? That's how we look at things. So that's how we're talking about things. We're not talking about things like, oh, but what is Luffy gonna do? No, we're not talking about like that. We're talking about like, from a writing perspective, how do all these things benefit the story? And I think what they what they could do, or what might fix that situation with Nami's dilemma, is just like, the whole point of the dilemma is just to add tension. It's to add tension to their exploration, and to kind of have this heavy cloud over everything, and to build the anticipation for getting to Alabasta, because now we really need to go forward faster. So that's all you really need. You don't need this complicated, like, what are we gonna do? Especially when you can't do anything. What the real conflict is like, Nami's sick, and that's bad. Not because, oh, what are we gonna do without our navigator? we don't need a navigator because of the log pose. They literally point you in the direction you need to go. And just because she can sense storms, the size of that cyclone, I don't think was going to matter whether Nami was awake or not. Like, it was fucking huge and would have pulled them in from like so far away.
It was the thing that Zoro was steering them directly towards that, and then she made them turn, and then they avoided it. They would have been right in the middle of it if she hadn't said something.
My bad. I mistook that situation.
But at the same time,
anyway, the whole idea is the point. Is like the point is Nami's sick. Everything's going bad. What are we gonna do? We need to go faster. This is like a hopeless situation. And then, oh, what do you know? We stumble upon this. Like, and that's the other thing. It's like, how do we stumble upon like a random island? Is that possible? Unless it's unmapped and doesn't have any minerals on there to like draw the magnetic field of the log pose.
Well, it could just be a one that's in a different, like, it could just be sort of in the way of Alabasta, or they could have got slightly
I guess because they
course.
Went off course because of the cyclone. I guess that kind of makes sense. It's just that I wish that Nami would think about this, or that we would get some feedback that this is an intentional thing from the story, because it feels kind of like Oda introduced the log pose to kind of streamline the story or make it easier for us to anticipate cool island after cool island and like spend time here, spend time there. There's always something to look forward to. But as soon as he did that, it's like, oh, but that kind of ruins the adventure. I want some randomness, some spontaneity, the ability to like introduce a new island along the way in this unmapped territory. So it kind of is working against him, and then he introduces, like you said, the eternal log pose, and then it's just like, well, then that kind of undoes the whole, linear nature that you
stay in your lane.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's the whole thing. It's like, oh, you can like pick from these, and then you're on that track, and then it's like, okay, well, that's stupid. There's a million things. Why shouldn't we be able to go wherever we want? And then it's like, okay, well, you kind of can, because you can like skip and go over to there. But then it's like, actually, you could just drive around and find whatever you want and just be going without a compass, essentially, which is fine too.
Sextant. I always thought about them, but they instrument for determining angle between the horizon and celestial bodies such as the sun, moon, or star. Essentially navigation. Yeah, so it's a sextant allows you to map, like, you don't need magnetic fields for that. And it makes me wonder if, so there's two things with like the other ways of navigation. There's two things. Either Oda didn't think about the sun and the stars and the moon and those ways of navigation.
It's so hard not to think about that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, okay, is it more likely that he didn't think about that, or is it more likely that he just wanted this to be the thing because it's a kid's manga, it's a shonen manga, it's marketed towards like younger boys who don't know about navigation or don't know anything about that. I'm not an expert, I'm not saying I am, but like, the whole point is like, I want the story to be like this, and it seems like he's more of just ignoring the idea that you could navigate any other way because that would ruin the mystery.
Yeah, I think that it would be, I think for me personally, what would have been really cool is if they did have to either use something like that, or just Nami is able, like, she has a little bit of an internal compass kind of thing where she like knows the stars and like knows the sun and everything so well that she can accurately, more so than other people, predict the direction that they're going, so that way if they found a piece of a map, or if they run into someone that says like, oh, in this direction there's something like this, or head towards this star and you'll find this thing, or you know what I mean, like kind of piecing it together based on the characters that they meet, rather than having to stay on this island, which is essentially the same thing because it's forcing them to stay on the island and meet the people on the island. But instead, if it's, and this is why I was talking about the Voyage of the Dawn Treader in Narnia, because they get to a point where they don't know what's coming next, and they just sail in a direction, and then when they show up there, they like ask people that are there, do you know anything about this? Or they'll come across a completely uninhabited one and like piece together what might have happened there, or like why it's uninhabited because it's dangerous, and then they'll move on. And
it gives motivation to interacting with the environment. It's like
they are building a map as they go. And what I also think about this, I'm like, Nami wants to build a world map. How is any of this helping her to build them? Like, I want her
unless
to be able,
she might just be taking her notes in the background.
but like I really want her to like be able to kind of map out the grand line a little bit to an extent. Yeah,
just everything seems. It's just the fact that it's like, just the fact that it was meant to be such like a crazy unknown thing. And then the Marines know about it. Every pirate knows about it. We're running into people all the time. We're running into people. I mean, they have like different clothes here. They look like manufactured clothes. I mean, it's environmental storytelling, and yeah, the whole thing of interacting with either the environment to tell a story of what happened here and why why this is unmapped. Why isn't this on a map? Why isn't this known by people? Is there a story behind that? And especially with Nami's goal of mapping out the world, paying attention to those details and writing in those details. It creates a relationship between the environment and the character's story. And that's important because that's the whole point of an adventurer's story is that you are interacting with the places that you're finding beyond just going there fighting guys that have nothing to do with the island that you're on in order to further a greater plot that you're doing down the line. It's just there. It's right now it's kind of lacking that cohesion, and it seems like we got here and now we're going into a much more like the kind of storyline. I mean, I called it out like instantly once Vivi was revealed to be like a princess. It's like, isn't this exactly what happened with Nami and with Kaya? And isn't that the same story of like, oh, we meet this damsel in distress and she had her home taken over by pirate roguelike figures and her power usurped, and then we're gonna come in and fight the big bad guy and then restore peace to the land? Like, isn't that the same thing that happened before? I thought we were kind of signing up for a greater voyage, like an adventure, learning of these new things, and then the fact that everybody seems to know more about the Grand Line than we do when Nami's whole thing is supposed to be this like navigator figure who's going and exploring and mapping out all the shit. It just makes me question, like, why aren't there are no maps? There's no charts.
That's what I was saying.
It's like just because there's no...
Just because it's not a compass.
Just because there's no magnetic field doesn't mean that the islands are not stationary unless they aren't stationary.
And that's what I was going to bring up is if it was like a thing where like the sea could change the placements of the island, and that's why you couldn't map it, or you like I was just.
But that hasn't been said yet.
I guess what I was thinking is like if there's essentially a compass that can point you in the direction of a thing, then it's like you, as a navigator, can tell how fast your ship is going.
Yeah.
Despite the weather, you can account for that. And you've just been going in a literal straight line the entire time. So you should
be able to measure your speed.
Make a map based on the speed that you were going.
The distance you've traveled.
To find out how far away this one was from that one.
And then
and if you knew where they were, then theoretically
you could create even a rudimentary map, like even just like basic distance from here to here, not filling out like the latitude,
I guess
longitude,
the thing is,
and everything.
If you can't use a compass, then you can't really use a traditional map because you can get off course very easily. You can't just like set it, we're going this way now, and you can stay that way because you don't have any stationary objects.
It would help because again, you do. It's the horizon.
Well, that's what I was gonna say.
And the sun, and the moon, and the stars.
The story seems to be like conveniently
leaving that out.
We're not talking about the most basic form that people have been using for thousands of years to tell where they're going.
Yeah, that's how they sailed at night. Is by using the stars. And a sextant or some rudimentary version of that. So like, and I like, it's just frustrating for a story all about traveling the open ocean to not only try to write itself out of doing that, but then to conveniently just ignore those methods of transportation.
Because I feel like it would be so fucking cool.
Especially with Nami's story being to map out the world, that she's not doing all that. Because that's how she must have been working for Arlong, is she knew all of those techniques.
Yeah.
So
she wasn't just compassing and like using a compass. She was like, knowing the tides and the way things were. And even if that stuff is unpredictable, there are still.
Yeah. So I need. That's why we're saying. That's why we're kind of openly criticizing that part of it. It's because, like, part of criticism is you need to be charitable, and part of being charitable is not assuming that the author is making an accident. Part of being charitable is like assuming that the author is intentionally operating based on their own intention and making choices for their story. If you start assuming, oh, well, they didn't know that, they didn't think of this, that's kind of bad. That's operating in bad faith as a critic. So you have, whenever you're doing this kind of shit, you need to. So that's why I'm assuming that it's a choice and that they're sacrificing this kind of logic for the sake of their story. But then, if you're going to operate in good faith and assume that, then you also need to accept that it might not be a good choice for the sake of
Yeah.
the adventure of the story.
Or that it could be, you know, it seems very clear to me that it's like the log pose was introduced and laid out in a very strict sense, and then since then we have been like trying to break out of that with the eternal pose, with just drive around and see what you find, as if. But they made it sound like originally, like if you didn't have the log pose, you would never
just get
find
lost
anything.
At sea. Like you end up like fucking Zeph and Sanji, just trapped in the middle of the ocean.
But it seems more likely that you know you might find something, or you might just not. But I guess my thing is a little bit of loss for what could have been, and how, like, you know, Nami's character, if she had been fully responsible and like doing all of this crazy navigational things and like figuring out new techniques to like help them in the grand line.
I'm okay with even that, but it's the what gets me is like if this is how they're going, I as long as we acknowledge what's wrong with it, we can accept it and move on. But the fact that Oda is like, oh, write Nami out of this situation, like how we write Luffy out of a battle because he's too strong. It's like Nami will be able to solve these problems a lot faster and we'll get there quicker, and then there's no tension or whatever. So make her sick and basically knock her out of this part of the story so that there can be some tension in that way. But again, it doesn't make sense because of the mechanism that you introduced to the story. So it's come to the point where there's multiple things where Oda is working against himself with everything that he has been introducing. And I know that there's going to be a million people that are either going to come up with a bunch of reasons based on future shit that we don't know, that should not matter in this case, because I doubt that Oda was thinking of whatever justification, you know, nullifies all of our criticism in the future. We can't be judged based on that because we don't know that. But more importantly, it's, you know, I don't know. It is kind of frustrating, but it's more just frustrating because it's working against itself. If it was just, the story was just moving and there's weren't these like little conflicts, then it'd be fine. But yeah, anyway, I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's also just apparent because then they draw attention to it immediately with the whole like, oh, Nami's our navigator plotline, like right after we like get a new navigational thing that seems, you know, kind of straightforward.
Yeah.
But anyway, I guess we can just move on to the next one and see what happens with all these guys on this island and Vivi getting shot.
I'm sure she's dead. Plotline over.
Could
no
you
reason to go
imagine if she was
Alabasta.
actually
She's
dead?
not fucking dead.
I know. I'm just saying, could you imagine?
Okay, I think, is that the second one of this?
It's 79. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, that's the second one.
Okay.
Leave a like and subscribe. We'll see you guys in the next one, Carson.
I'm Lindsay.
Bye-bye.